Okay, so this is where we ended our lecture yesterday, and from here we'll continue now. And so let's see the next question. Okay, this is the second question of this PDF, and let's look at this. So this is this shape. This is like a ball is thrown in this direction, and this is how it moves. So this shape, I
Mm.
told you that this shape is called a parabola. This shape is called a parabola. Okay, the ball is thrown with an, and due to the same reason, this motion, this type of motion, it is also called parabolic motion. Okay, now let's read the question. The ball is thrown with an initial velocity v at 60 degree to the horizontal. So basically, this is horizontal, and 60 degree to this horizontal, this ball is thrown. The variation with time t of the vertical component vv they have said. Vertical component they have denoted with vv. So what is the vertical component basically? So let me, I will try to draw it here. So if, so they are saying basically that initially, wait, okay. So they are saying that initially this is the direction in which ball was thrown, and vertical component of this is basically this vector.
Mm.
Okay, this is the vertical component, and this one over here, this is the horizontal component. Okay,
Yeah.
so we know one thing: the horizontal component of velocity will remain same because there is no force acting in that direction, right? There is no force that is pushing the
Yeah.
object to the right or pulling it to the right or pulling it to the left or pushing it to the left. There is no force like that. Vertical component will change. Why? Because there is gravity that is pulling it down. Okay, so gravity will basically have some effect on the vertical component. Gravity can have no effect on the horizontal component. Okay,
Mm.
the horizontal component will basically remain same, only the vertical component will vary. So let's read the question. Yeah, the variation with time t of vertical component of the ball and the of the ball from t is equal to 0 to 2 is equal to 0.6 seconds. So up till 0.6 seconds it is shown. Now look at this graph. Initially the vertical component is starting from a maximum value that is around like 5 point, I think 5.9, 5.8 like that, and then it is going to zero. Velocity is vertical velocity is going to zero. If I just assume that there is no horizontal component, then this basically means there is a ball that went up and then it came, then basically it is at its maximum point right now, because at the maximum point the velocity is zero momentarily, just for a moment it is zero. After that, what will happen to this ball? It will start to come down again, and basically velocity will become negative, so the graph will continue like that.
Mm.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that's if you neglect the vertical, if you neglect the basically the horizontal component. This is what the vertical component means basically. Okay, okay, let's look at the question. Assume air resistance is negligible. Complete figure 2.2 for the time until the ball reaches B. So we know that from this point to this point, what happened basically? Um, Velocity was decreasing. Velocity decreased from 6 to 0, right? So basically, the ball was going up, the velocity was maximum, and as the ball went up, the velocity kept decreasing because gravity is pulling this ball downwards. So basically, the ball is over here right now. It has stopped right now, and now it is about to come back, right? So basically it will come back. Now when it will come back, when the ball will come back, at that point the direction of velocity will change. Initially the velocity was pointing upwards, now the velocity is pointing downwards, so the velocity will be negative on the graph. So all we need to do is just extend this. Okay, and the reason for that is, if you notice, okay, let me, okay, the reason for that is because what is the slope of this graph? We know that the slope of speed time graph is the acceleration. The slope of speed time graph is acceleration. Okay, and we know that because gravity is constant, the acceleration due to gravity is also constant. So the value of acceleration due to gravity, that has a fixed value, which is 9.8. This is the fixed value for acceleration due to gravity. So even if they ask us to like find the slope, we know that our answer will be around 9.8 or 10. So this slope is going to be constant. So all you need to do is put a scale over here and extend this line in the same direction like this. Now, the next question that arises is, how long will you extend it? Like basically, how much will you extend it? Like, will you extend it to this point, up till what value will you extend it? So to answer that, you have to take into account the distance basically. So if you look at it, we are at this point right now. We are at this point right. Wait.
Mm.
So let me use some points. So initially, this is the point. This is the initial point. Okay. Right now, we are at this point. At this red point, the graph basically looks like this. Okay. Now after it, the ball is going to come down. Now, how much should you basically extend this line? That's the question. To answer it simply, you can simply see like this area under the graph will tell you the height basically. We know that the area under the graph is distance, right? Area
Mm.
under the graph is distance. And since we are talking about the vertical component, this area under the graph will basically tell me this height. It will tell me about this height. Okay. So if I find the area under the graph quickly, so simply what I can do is I can do 1 by 2 multiplied by 0.6 into 6. Okay. And I will get my answer, which will be around, I think, 0.18. No, 1.8, I think, maybe. And then what I will do is I will plot another triangle over here in the same way so that the area is equal. Okay, the purpose is to get the area equal. But there is a simpler way to do that. I know that this is a triangle. I know that this point is similar between both of them. So basically, according to the, if you have studied similarity in O levels, you know that if you have similar triangles, their lengths are basically equal. If you have like congruent triangles, their lengths are equal. In in case of congruent triangles, and these are congruent triangles, right? Their lengths are all equal because their area is equal. So I know that if this is like 0.6, then this will go till this point. So if from 0 to 0.6, there is 0.6 seconds. So it will basically land back on the ground at a point which will be 0.6 seconds away from this point. So over here, like this.
Mm.
So what I need to do is basically, I will, I can simply draw this line over here, and I can extend this graph until it meets that line, like this basically. Okay. And the reason, a simple way to think about that is basically the time taken by the ball to go up to this point will be equal to the time taken by the ball to come back. That's a simple way to think about it.
So it first took 0.6, and then to come back it would again take 0.6, so it would be 1.2.
Yeah, exactly. So basically, that's what I'm saying. A simple way to look at this is that the time taken by the ball to go up will be equal to the time taken by the ball to come down.
Mm.
That's the simplest way to think about it. Okay. Calculate the maximum height reached by the ball. Maximum height. So I've already told you that maximum height is basically this area under the curve, right? This part. This is the maximum height. We will not include this part. This part, if you see, we will not include this. Why? Because this is negative. If you see, this area will come out to be negative because your velocity is negative over here. And what you will see is basically that when you will multiply, when you will find negative area, this area will basically cancel out this area. And that makes sense. That makes sense because this area tells you like how far is basically the ball from its original position, right? How far is the ball from original position? And if you are just considering this area, this means that you are considering the position when the ball has came back, when the ball has came back, when the ball is at this position. So at that position, automatically we know that the distance is 0 because the ball is basically back at its original position again. We are not considering this horizontal distance. We are not putting this horizontal distance into question. We are only considering the vertical component. So keep that in mind. So to find the maximum height, we will only consider this area on the left side. And okay, let's see what we will do. I know that this is a triangle. I know, let me point it out. Okay, so I think this is okay. We know that this is a triangle. All I need to do is apply the formula for area of triangle. So what is the formula for area of triangle? A is equal to 1 by 2 into breadth into height. So 1 by 2. What's the height of this triangle? Almost
Height of this
6.
triangle.
Almost like
Yeah.
6. multiplied by 6 multiplied by width. What is the width?
0.6.
0.6. Wait, 6 into 0.6. This will give me 3.6, and dividing by 2, I will get basically, wait,
1.8.
it will give me basically 1.8. So the distance under this graph will be 1.8 meter. Calculate the horizontal component VH of the velocity at time t is equal to 0. Now this is tricky. Now we know that basically, if, let me draw it over here. So we know that if you are looking at this initial position, this is your vector v, like this, okay, and this is your, this is your vertical component, and this part over here, this is your horizontal component, okay. And we also know one more thing, that is that this angle over here, this is, wait, this angle
Cos
is
theta.
basically, they have given it 60 degree. This is 60 degrees, okay. From here I can see easily that basically this red vertical component, this becomes v sine 60. V is the initial speed, and this part basically becomes v or 60. Okay, clear?
Clear.
Okay. Now the thing is, what do we know? If you look at the graph, we can see from this point over here that we know the initial basically initial velocity of v. We can look at that from the graph. If you see, right, it is almost, this is 5, 5.2, 5.4, 5.6, 5.8, 5.9. So initial vertical component of velocity is 5.9. So I can write basically this, v sine 60 is basically equal to what? 5.9, right? This is what I've seen from the
Right.
graph, and from here I can find v. V will basically come out to be, let me divide it. So 5.9 divided by sine 60, that is coming out to be 6.81. 6.81. 6.81. Okay, now I can easily, the question was to find the horizontal component of velocity, right? We have to find the horizontal component of velocity. So I can easily find the horizontal component of velocity. So VH, let's say VH, it is basically equal to V cos 60. Okay, and from here I can simply see that VH is basically equal to what? 6.81 cos of 60 degrees. Okay, and this will basically give me 6.81 multiplied by cos 60, and this is giving me 3.41. So VH, we know the horizontal component of initial velocity is what? 3.41 meter per second. Meter per second. Okay, so if you see, our answer will be 3.41 meter per second. Now they've said on figure 2.2, sketch the variation with t of VH. Now you have to sketch VH, horizontal component of velocity. What will it look like? So I have told you already that there is no force acting in the horizontal direction. So horizontal velocity will basically remain constant over time, right? So if I draw this, I know that basically my line will start from 3.4. So 3 is over here, 3.1 and 3. Yeah. So this will basically, my line will go on like this. Okay, let me see if I can make it more visible. Okay, this seems clear. And this is basically, let me make it green. I think, okay. This line, if you can see the green line, this is basically the graph of VH. Okay, we have labeled it and we have drawn it. Wait, sorry. I made a mistake. This is not 3.4 is actually not this point. 3.4 will basically lie over. So 3 is over here, and yeah, like this. Your graph will basically look like this. This will be your graph of horizontal velocity. And so we can just say, or we can write over here, this is VH. VH. Okay, and that's how you will do this question. Okay, next part is the ball has a mass 0.65 kg. So this deals with kinetic energy, potential energy. We will not do it right now. We will skip it for now. Okay, again, can you answer this question? Hello, can you hear me? Hello. Okay, so can you answer this question? Can you try to answer
Yeah.
this question? So what is meant by a
So
scalar quantity and a
explain
vector?
what is meant. Scalar are the ones which only contains the magnitude. However, the vectors are the ones which do contain both the scalar
Yeah,
and the
exactly.
magnitude and the
Exactly.
direction.
Exactly. So that's the basic definition. Scalar is basically only a scalar quantity, while a vector basically includes both magnitude and direction. So let's look at this question now. A ball leaves point P at the top of the cliff with a horizontal velocity of 15 meter per second, as shown in figure 2.1. So there, okay, if you just look at it, the vertical velocity is zero, because if you see at the initial point, if you look at this tangent over here, this is like strictly vertical. This is like only horizontal. There is no vertical component. If it was like this or like this, there would be a vertical component. But there is no vertical component in this one. There is only the horizontal component. So what they are, but let's look at this question and let's see what they want to ask now. The height of the cliff is 25 meter. We can see that from here, 25 meter. Okay, the ball hits the ground at point Q. Air resistance is negligible. Calculate the vertical velocity of the ball just before it makes impact with the ground at Q. Just before it makes impact with the ground at Q. So they are asking for vertical velocity. We are not concerned with the horizontal part. Okay, we are not concerned with the horizontal velocity at this point. We only want to find the vertical velocity. So how will we find it? So let's look at this. So I know that the distance will be basically this 25 meter. So d is not d, sorry, s. We denote distance by s. S is basically what? S is 25 meters. Initial velocity. What is the initial velocity now? Initial velocity, if you see, you might say 15, but 15 is the horizontal velocity. We are dealing with the vertical one, so we will not consider 15. We are only dealing with vertical velocity, so we will say u is 0. Okay, v is wait, v, do we know v? We don't, so we'll just put our question mark over here. Do we know t? We don't know t. We don't know how much time it took for the ball to fall down, so we don't know this, and we don't need to find this, so we will put a cross over here. A, do we know a? Yes, we do know a. So what we will do is we will take A to be the value of gravity. We know that this is under the action of gravity, so this is 9.8 meter per second square. So which formula should I use to find V when I don't have time? Like when I don't have the value of time, which formula should I use? So there are three formulas. One
There
is
were three
V is equal to U plus
three
AT.
equations we learned.
Yeah, equation 3 exactly, which is
Yeah.
V square minus U square is equal to 2AS. Okay, so U is basically 0, so this will basically go away, and we have V square. So let me just put it directly. V is basically equal to what? V is
And we
basically
had
equal to under root 2AS, and this becomes under root 2 times A is basically, can we take it to be 10? Okay, let's take it as it is, 9.8. No, don't round it off
no,
in A
you
levels.
got
Okay,
it out.
in like O levels we could round it off easily, but in A levels don't do that. Okay, so A is 9.8 and S is basically 25.
22.1.
So let me see this answer. So 25 into 9.8 into 2. So yeah, you're correct. I am getting 122.1. 22.1. Okay. This is basically the same as if they had given us a question like in which they were dropping a ball from this height and it was falling to this point. If they had given us this case and they asked us to find the vertical velocity, we would have got the same answer. Okay, so you can see from here that basically horizontal component has no effect because it is perpendicular. It is totally perpendicular to the vertical velocity, and since it is perpendicular, it does not have any effect on the vertical velocity basically. Okay, that's what you have to keep in mind. Show that the time taken for the ball to fall to the ground is 2.3 seconds. So we need to find the time now. So we have all of these values. We have S, we have U, we have V, we have A. All we need to do is find time. So we can use any question we want. I will use the simplest one. The simplest one is basically V is equal to U plus AT,
Yeah.
right? V is 22.1, U is 0, A is 9.8, and T is we want to find. So what will we get? Divided by 9.8. I'm getting 2.26. So T is basically equal to
22.1 divided by 9.8.
okay. So as you can
Your
see,
screen is up. And we get 2.25 or 2.26.
yeah. So this can be basically rounded off to 2.3 seconds. This is what they wanted. Okay. Now they're asking.
2.27.
Now they're asking, calculate the magnitude of displacement. Okay, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so we're doing this question, and we have calculated the time. Now they're asking, calculate the magnitude of displacement of the ball at point Q from point P. What is this displacement? So displacement is the difference in, is basically the length. Basically, well, how can you define it? You can say that displacement is basically the length which tells you the difference in the initial and final position. Okay, so if you have, this is your initial position, this point, and this is your final position, right? The difference between them is basically this distance. This is what they are asking for. This is the displacement. So we already know this height. We know this height, 25 meter. If I somehow,
Displacement is the overall change in the position.
yeah, exactly. So basically, simply you can define displacement as the change in initial and final position. The pathway does not matter. It does not matter if the ball came like this or it came like this. It is only the difference in initial and final position, which is always a straight line between 2 points like this. Okay, so I know this vertical distance. I know this is 25 meter. If I somehow manage to find this distance, this horizontal one, I can apply the Pythagoras rule to find this vertical, find basically the length of this vertical line, to find the length of this hypotenuse basically, right? So what I need to do is I need to find this, I need to find basically this displacement, this horizontal displacement. That's what I want to find right now. So how will I find it? So let's see. As you can see, I already have this value of time. I know that our time is 2.26 seconds or 2.3 seconds if you say. And I also have the initial horizontal velocity. I know that initially the horizontal velocity of the ball was 15 meter per second. And I know that there is no force acting in the horizontal direction. So there is no force that is acting like this or like this. Okay. So keeping all of this in mind, I know that the velocity is fixed at 15 and time is 2.3 seconds. So simply what I can do is I can find the, when velocity remains same, we have done this in O level, so that when velocity remains same, what you do is to find the distance. Distance is basically simply v into t. Okay. And what is the velocity? Velocity is basically
This
15.
velocity,
15.
yeah.
And what is time?
What is that over here?
S is distance. S is always distance.
Mm.
Okay, S is always distance.
All right.
So what I will do is I will multiply
Times 2.26. We get 33.9.
wait, I'm getting 33.9. So this distance is 33.9 and you can write it as it is. You don't need to round it up to 40 or something. You can just write it as it is. 0.9 meter. Okay, so this will be your displacement. Oh, no, sorry. This is okay. This is not your
That's
displacement.
right.
This is the horizontal displacement, right? This is the horizontal displacement. So I know that on this figure, this is 25. This is 25. Okay, and this is, wait, this is basically 33.9. So I have this triangle. I have this triangle right now over here.
So
So let's call this then
that's
C.
25.
This is 25. This is, what is C basically? We know from Pythagoras rule that C square is basically equal to what? A square plus B square. So if you have, if these two sides are basically A and B respectively, then basically C square is basically equal to A square plus B square. So square of this plus 25
You will
square.
get 42. 42. Yeah.
Let me see. 33.9 square plus 25 square, square root of that. Yeah, I'm
42.
getting 42.1. Yeah. So we know that the final displacement is what is it basically? 42.1 meter. This is my answer. Now this
Can we
question.
write it as 44, just 42?
It is better to write like up to one decimal place at least. So it is better to write up to like one decimal place. So it is better to write 42.1 instead of just writing 42. Okay.
But
Now the
in
next,
marking schemes, given 42.08.
in marking schemes of this question,
Yeah. Yes.
are you sure?
Yep.
I think,
100%.
yeah, okay, you can send me. Are you sending on WhatsApp?
Yeah, wait.
Okay. Let me pause the recording. Now for part 4. What do you think what you will do in this part?
Inward distance traveled by the ball is different from the magnitude of the displacement of the ball.
What do you think?
Why the distance traveled by the ball is different
There is a very simple reason for that. I was actually telling you this earlier. So let me tell you. What is distance? So if I go from this point to this point, and let's say I choose a path like this. Now the length of this path, this will be my distance. But displacement is
from.
basically the shortest distance between these 2 points. So like this. This green line is my displacement, right?
Yeah.
Now similarly, wait, I will do. Yeah. So if you look at this diagram now, so let me show you this diagram. If you look at this diagram, the displacement basically, this horizontal line, this green line again, this is the displacement. Okay. However, the distance is not that. The distance is basically this line I will draw now. This blue line that I'm drawing, this is basically the distance. This blue line is the distance. This green line is the displacement. As you can see, the blue line is basically longer than the green line, right? So distance is,
Right.
that's why for this reason distance is different from displacement, because displacement is the shortest path and distance can be any length joining those 2 points. Okay, so we have to understand why they both are different, and this is the reason. Okay, that is the answer of this question. Okay, now let's do this one. The drag force D on an object of cross-sectional area A moving with speed V through a fluid of density rho is given by this value, where C is a constant. Show that C has no unit. Show that C has no unit. So firstly, what I will do is I will rearrange this formula. I know that C is basically equal to what? C is basically equal to 2D over rho A V square, right? From here I can see what is D. D is a force. D is a force, drag force. They have written over here, drag force. So this is in newtons. Rho is basically density. So this is basically mass per unit volume. So the unit will be kg per meter cube multiplied by area. Area is meter square. And V, what is V? V is speed. So speed is meter per second
Mm.
whole square. If I further break force down, I know that force is basically equal to what? Force is equal to
MA,
ma.
mass times acceleration. And
Okay,
then they both will
this will
cancel
become
each other
kg
and you will have no units.
ms meter per second. This is the unit of acceleration. Okay, and divided by kg over here. This m will come on top. This will come here. Kg meter square. This is m cube. Sorry, this is m cube.
Meter cube.
Okay, I think okay, so this will become m4. Okay, yeah. So meter. Um, yeah. Let me see if I'm making any mistake. So this is 2D
So we need to multiply.
kg kg ms minus 2 m cube. We have a. is the first sectional area. Let's see. Okay, yeah. So this is meter square. This is meter square, and then when I will open this square root, when I will open this square, this will basically become meter square per second square. So second will go basically upwards, and I will get this second square. Second square. This is what I will get. Now time to do cancellations. I know that this and this will cancel out. This second minus 2 and this second 2 will be added, basically minus 2 plus 2 will be 0, and second to the power of 0 will be basically 1, so no unit. Now look at this meter sign. So this is 1, this is 3, this is 2 and 2. So on the numerator you will get m to the power of 4, in the denominator you will get m to the power of 4, so they will also cancel out. So this and this will basically cancel out, and you will be basically left with no units. So that's why you can say no units. No units. Okay. A raindrop falls vertically from rest. Assume that air resistance is negligible. On figure 1.1, sketch a graph to show the variational time t of velocity v of the raindrop for the first 1 second of the motion. Air resistance is negligible. Air resistance is negligible, and the raindrop is falling vertically. So that means basically it will start from 0, 0, 0. It will start from this point, and then it will move. Its velocity will keep increasing, right? So if I draw this one line, I will basically get a line that will, okay, now I also know one more thing, that basically this acceleration is, what is the value of acceleration? That is basically 9.8 meter per second square. That means after 1 second, the velocity should increase by 1 meter per second square. So what I will get is basically I will get a graph that will look like this somehow. Okay.
So yeah,
this will be my graph. Now they're saying calculate the velocity of the raindrop after falling 1000 meters. After falling 1000 meters. So let's think of those equations. What do we have? Do we have distance? Yes, we do have distance. Distance is 1000 meters. Do we have velocity? No, we don't have velocity. Okay. We need to find velocity.
Will we use mass times gravity times height over here to find the velocity?
What are you saying? Sorry.
mgh to find the velocity, mass times gravity times height.
I am not sure what you're saying, so I will just do it by my math. So let me show you what this means. Okay. So we don't know you. Okay, we know you because we know that this graph is basically starting from 0. Okay, when the air resistance starts to fall down, its velocity is initially 0. So u is basically 0 over here. Okay. We do you know time? Do you know what time it will be when the velocity will be like basically when it will fall 1000 meters? Do you know what time it will be then? We don't know. So we'll just put a cross over here. A. Do we know A? Yes, we know A. A will be 9.8 like always. 9.8 meter per second square. This is meter per second. So to find, I need to find V. Which formula connects these 3 points? So in which form? I don't have the value of time. So in which formula is there no value of time? I get with equation 3. We know that this is equation 3, just like last case. So V square minus U square is equal to 2AS. This is basically 0 again. So this will cancel out. And I will get V is equal to under root 2AS. And I will get this solution basically. 2 times A is basically due to gravity. So I can just write 9.8 here. And S, what is S? 1000. Okay, always check the units. So if this was 1000 millimeters here, then I would put 1 meter because I have to always deal with SI units. So always give your answers in SI units. So 2 into 9.8 multiplied by 1000 and under root of this answer, I'm getting 140. So V is basically equal to what? 140 meter per second. So my answer will be 140. So when the drop will have fell down like 1000 meters, at that point its velocity will be 140 meter per second. Now they're saying in practice, air resistance on air resistance on raindrops is not negligible because there is a drag force. The drag force is given by the expression in air. So they're saying that in reality there is obviously a drag force. Like there is the air particles that collide with these water molecules and they push them upwards. So it is not actually okay. So as I was saying, basically there is a drag force. Okay, there is a drag force. Now in this case again we will make a free body diagram. So assume there is a water molecule. Assume that there is a water molecule like this. So let me make it with blue. This is your small raindrop over here. Okay. So what are the forces acting on it? Firstly, there is this gravity that is pulling it downwards. Okay. Gravity is pulling it downwards. That's the first thing. Then we have this drag force that is basically opposing the motion. All drag force does is basically it opposes the motion. So drag force is basically pushing it upwards. Right?
Right.
So let's find the magnitude of this. So I know that this gravity is downward, so this is basically equal to mg because this is basically the weight. F is equal to ma and a is basically equal to g in this case. This is the weight of the raindrop that is pulling it down. The weight of the raindrop is pulling it down basically. Okay. And then if you look at the above portion, there is this drag force. Okay, drag force D. So a simple equation I can write is basically mg minus d, mg minus d. This is basically equal to the net force, and the net force is basically equal to mass times acceleration. Okay, so this will be my equation. Or I can just say W minus D is equal to MA. Okay. Mass times acceleration is basically the force, the net force. We will study this in detail in the next chapter. So this is a question from next chapter, dynamics. Okay. But yeah, we will do it in detail in that chapter. But right now, all you need to know is that this is called a free body diagram. This is like an intro, you can see. So this is the free body diagram. And when you draw what you do in a free body diagram is basically that you write all of the forces that are acting, and then you write equations in which you relate all of those forces. You basically relate all of them in your equations. Okay. The raindrop has a mass 1 point. They have given the mass of raindrop. They have given the cross-sectional area of the raindrop. They have given the density of the air, and the initial velocity of the raindrop is 0. Show that the value of C is 0.6. So what we need to do first is we need to. They are asking us to find this value of this C, this constant. They want us to find this constant. How will we do that? So for that, we need to find the drag force first, right? Do we have the drag force? We don't know. We don't have the value of drag force. Now first thing, okay, we have the value of C. We have the value of C. Sorry, we don't have to find the value of C. We have the value of C. We don't have the value for drag force. So first thing we will do is we will find the drag force. I think this is next chapter. Okay, let's not do it right now. This is from next chapter. We will go too much into the next chapter, and I think it will confuse you even more. So let's skip this for now. and we will do this after, like in the next chapter, dynamics. Okay, there are lots of questions like that. After you will do next chapter, you will see they are not that difficult. Okay, so a ball is thrown vertically down towards the ground with initial velocity of 4.23 meter per second. The ball falls for a time of 1.51 seconds before hitting the ground.
Mm.
Air resistance is negligible. Show that the downward velocity of the ball when it hits the ground is 19.0 meter per second. So the simplest way to do
And
that,
we
which
will
equation
do
will you?
V is equal to the first one, V is equal to
Yeah,
U plus A.
exactly. We will use V is equal to U plus AT. Right, the
Mm.
most simplest one. We will use this. What is V? We know. Okay, we need to find V. We have to
Mm.
show the value of V.
And the U is 4.23
Yeah,
times
4.23 plus acceleration
9.8 times 1.51.
51. Right. So from here, what I can do is 4.23 plus bracket open 9.8 times 1.51. So
19.0.
yeah,
19.
19.02. So I can just say 19.0 or 19.
19.
19.0. This is what we wanted to show, and this is what we have shown. So this is correct. Calculate to three significant figures the distance the ball falls. So basically, they're asking for the initial height. They are basically asking from which height did you drop the ball. That's what they're
Mm.
asking. So how will we calculate the distance? So we know V, we know U, we know A, we know T. We can apply either equation 2 or we can apply equation 3. Using both of them, we can find. So let's use equation 2. S is equal to UT plus half AT square.
You know
Okay.
that.
What is U? U is basically 4.23. What is T?
5.
1.51 plus 1 half. What is A?
Is
9.8
9.8 times T
times
1.5.
T square. So that is 1.51 whole square.
Yeah. Um,
And you will basically get from here that 1.51 square multiplied by 9.8 divided by 2 plus bracket open 1.51 multiplied by 4.23.
17.6.
Yeah, 17.6. So distance will be 17.6 meters. So my answer will be 17.6 meters. Okay. The ball makes contact with the ground for. Okay, so this is again from next chapter. This is about momentum. We are not going to do this one. So you can see this one basically in the next chapter you will study what happens when the ball bounces. So when you throw a ball on the ground and basically it bounces back, what happens after that? So this will basically deal with that. You will find the force that the ground exerts on the ball and everything like that. Then conservation of energy, all
Is
of
it
that.
like that? Force equals to a change in momentum over change in time.
Yeah, exactly. That's the equation. That's what you will see. And you will study in the next chapter. You will study first what is momentum. You will study free body diagrams. You will study change in momentum. You will find a new way to express Newton's third law, basically. Yeah, all of this you will study in the next chapter. The thing is, these chapters are very similar. Chapter from chapter 2 to like chapter 3, 4, even the work chapter, they are very similar. So if you see, so this one, the conservation of energy concept, this is like basically discussed in detail in the work energy chapter, which comes very late. Okay, so like all
Total,
what
how
these
many chapters are there? 4 years.
4s, let me see again. uh there are a total of, I think, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12 13 topics, a total of 13 topics for A levels. And we have done like three of them. The third one is almost done,
Mm.
right? So yeah, um The next one, you can do the next one. You can take this one as like homework if you want. You can show this to me tomorrow. You can send me your solution. Try this on your own, this one,
Hmm.
and you can basically send this to me on WhatsApp and I will have a look over it. Okay, so I will stop the recording now.